So I'm super excited about SpoilerCon because we have some confirmed guests. We have Daniel Green confirmed for Saturday. We have Matt Hatch confirmed. We have Michael Kramer, Kate Redding. All those people are going to be here doing events for us. Well, they'll be remote, but we get to talk to them, ask them questions, have them do some interactions. We got the costume contest. We got the trivia contest. Like we've packed both days with the schedule. We actually had to like cut one or two things to make it fit. Like I was worried that we weren't gonna have enough, but it is an incredibly packed, fun schedule full of some big names. So SpoilerCon is looking lit this year.
And we still have, there is still open available slots for registration. So
yes, there is. Please go register.
And remember, we have an online portion. So if you feel like you don't have the money to get the ticket and travel, or you don't feel comfortable traveling, or you live on the other side of the world and you don't feel like traveling, you can come online. A bunch of our stuff is going to be online. A lot of our guests are going to be online. Like online is a very real piece of this.
Definitely. Yeah, we're definitely, because last year we did it purely online, and that was so damn popular that we're trying to, replicate that as well.
Yeah, very, very excited to be creating that for all of you. Definitely feels like we need a third day, but we're not going to have one. So it's going to be packed. There are going to be snacks.
Yes.
We're going to be in Portland, which has, a few food and beverage items within a stone's throw of the hotel. One or two.
Tickets are a little more expensive. The Jordan Con tickets are $50 right now. I think they're like 60 or 70 if you buy them last minute. SpoilerCon tickets are like $120, but that's because we're feeding you. And it's just a smaller event, so
yeah, it's a much smaller event.
The costs are distributed among fewer people.
But we're going to be at an actual event this year, event space, rather than at an Airbnb that is upset at how enthusiastic we are. So that's going to be good.
It's going to be great, yeah. And we've got some great space.
Yeah, lots of space for us to spread out.
Right. Yeah, it's looking like we're going to have sort of a showroom where we have the live shows going on. Looks like we're going to have a social room and we're going to have a quiet room. 3 distinct spaces.
Yes, because we understand introverts and their need to get away from each other.
And because we're in a hotel this year as opposed to an Airbnb, everyone will have rooms that are actually separated from the social space as opposed to adjacent to it.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see everyone and engage in as much hugging as we're all comfortable with and see what kind of fun cosplay people come up with. It's going to be a time. So please join us in one format or another. And enjoy the insanity with us, because it's going to be, memories will be made.
Yeah. And once again, I'm always impressed by how much work the planning committee puts into this. Like, it's so much more work than you think when you start off.
Oh my God, right?
And like, it's a massive lift to get this in-person thing done in a way that's within a budget and fun for everybody, and working around COVID. It's all been just an incredible lift from the people working on it, and I'm just so grateful to everyone who's put in effort and work in making this happen, because I think me and Aridia can attest there's no way we'd be able to do it by ourselves.
No, absolutely not. And also, don't forget, you can get merch. We've got t-shirts and masks, and I think there's one other item.
Mugs.
You can rock SpoilerCon merch even if you can't come physically, and if you come physically, you can be advertising the event to the other event attendees while wearing your mask.
Please wear the mask, yes.
I don't really know what the point of advertising it is once you're all there, but hey.
Well, and I think it's important that we are going to be pretty strict about mask usage, I think, just with the Delta variant spreading.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting struggle watching the pandemic morph and evolve while we plan for an event. But the way things are going at this point, everyone's going to be vaccinated. We're going to wear masks, as often as is physically possible. We're going to make it work. We're going to have lots of space. We're going to have lots of respect, and we're going to have lots of vaccination.
It's certainly a challenge in the modern environment to do this. I think we're pulling it off great.
Yeah. And don't forget also, you can go visit Powell's if you come to Portland.
Right.
Which is basically a complete reason to visit Portland right there.
Portland's a great city, right? If you just want to come visit Portland, like, this is a great excuse. I have a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, I'm coming a couple days beforehand. I'm staying a couple days after. I want to explore the restaurants. So, we're open back up really in the city. So you can go to any of the restaurants, and there's just a bunch of other fun stuff to do in Portland, none of which I actually do because I live here.
Yeah, no, naturally.
Yeah. You have to be a tourist to actually do those things. People are like, what's fun to do in Portland? I'm like, I don't know. I live here. I go somewhere else to have fun.
Yeah, walk around and drink beer.
What do you want to do? It's a city.
Right. Yeah. Tell me what you want to do, and
Mhm.
we will Google it. It's fine. Yeah. I mean, I don't live that far from Portland, but how often do I go? Like when there's concerts, once a year, maybe. It's bad. Please come enjoy the city for us.
This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
Today we're here to talk about chapter 37, A Note from the Palace. And this is the day after the Festival of the Birds, when Matt is basically, he's hanging out with the girls getting ready to go get the bowl of the winds.
Yeah. This is the party assembling to go to the Rahad.
And he's just mostly reflecting on the previous day, which was the Festival of the Birds.
Yeah.
So,
which sucked.
it sucked.
Worst day of his life, possibly.
Yeah.
Definitely in the top 5 or
I don't know.
Bottom 5.
Fighting Couladin may have been.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad day.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got Matt dealing with a bunch of trauma and PTSD from that. We've got Land showing up for the rest of the party as a newly married man. We've got the kin all fluttering around Elaine like she's the coolest thing ever. And we've got sleepy Nalesean, who will sleep when he's dead at the end of the day, which makes me sad. Yeah, it's really just a courtyard scene, basically. It's just a bunch of people milling around in a courtyard talking. But yeah, it's a lot in Matt's head being like, I do not like this situation at all. Yeah, it's gross.
And we got strong winds off the Sea of Storms. So I think that might be the Shan Chan.
It's certainly blowing the Shan Chan in, yeah.
Blowing in the Shan Chan in. So I'm wondering if maybe they're creating those winds with the channelers.
Ooh, do you think that they've learned weather stuff like from Captured Atha on Mier or
I mean, they would have
just
to
on their own?
They've certainly captured Atha on Mier. Like they have to have captured Windfinders.
Yeah.
And so like, how can they not have at least some ability with the weather?
I'd never thought of that, but that is a good point that they're like, no, we're not having some sneaky doldrums, mooring us 100 miles off the coast for a week. We are blazing into these harbors like on a nice strong tailwind. That I'd never thought of that, but I like that.
I'll read this in.
And our symbol is the dice.
Chapter 37. Our symbol is the dice and a note from the palace, because this is Matt getting a note from the palace.
On a picnic basket.
Hey, boo-boo. The day after the Festival of Birds dawned, the strong winds off the Sea of Storms that actually cut the heat in Ebu Dar. A sky without a cloud and the red gold dome of the sun on the horizon gave promises for once. The wind died, though. Matt hurried down through the terrace and palace with his green coat undone and his shirt only half laced in anticipation. He did not quite jump at every sound, but he did give a start, considerably more wide-eyed than he liked whenever one of the serving women passed, swishing her petticoats and smiling at him. Every last one of them smiled, in a particularly knowing way. It was all he could do, not to run. At last he slowed, easing onto the shaded walk bordering the stable yard, almost on tiptoe. Between the fluted columns of the walk, yellowish, reedy plants in big red pottery bowls, and vines with wide red-striped leaves dangling from metal baskets on chains formed a thin screen. Unconsciously, he tucked his hat lower to obscure his face. His hands ran along his spear, an Ashendari, Brigida called it, unthinkingly fingering the haft as he might need to defend himself. The dice tumbled inside his head fiercely, yet that had nothing to do with his uneasiness. The source of that was Tylin.
Yeah, he's very uncomfortable. He's sneaking around. All of the maids are like, hey, we know what you were doing. And he's like, please don't look at me. I would like to not be perceived in the slightest right now.
Yeah. The jumping at someone smiling at you because they're knowing, like, they're probably just being friendly.
Well, on the next page or so, there's the whole half a dozen serving women seized him in the halls and dragged him into Tylin's apartment. So they're like, hey, we helped assault you. How you doing this morning, buddy? How's your walk? And it's just like skeevy as hell.
Right. And he's literally jumping like they could drag him at, like, they might swarm him and drag him in again.
Yeah. A good half dozen of them helped assault him. They all know about it. They're all like giggling over it like it's funny. Like, it's jumpy making.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, talk about having no allies, right? Like, you're in enemy territory and every single servant might be an enemy attacking you.
Just out of curiosity, what do you think the yellow? I'm just gonna get a little lighter. The yellowish reedy plants in the big red pottery bowls.
I'm imagining like those like ferny things that are in like along the Nile.
I was thinking it might just be like bamboo.
They've got bamboo in
They do have bamboo.
tier.
Yeah, that's right.
So I don't think it's bamboo. On the other hand, Matt's not really a plant person, so
Papyrus?
yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking of.
Okay.
That's kind of what I've been imagining is papyrus plants. But yeah, with Matt not being a plant person, it could as easily be bamboo, and he's just like, I don't even recognize it as the thing that Julian has. But I mean,
Right.
Julian has the staff.
That's a good point. Yeah. No, yeah, I meant to say, I don't know why I said bamboo. I meant to say papyrus.
Okay, cool. Yeah. It just seems right. It just
Yeah.
seems appropriate.
And then we've got the vines with red striped leaves dangling from metal baskets. I think that's just a hanging.
Red striped leaves. I
Yeah.
have zero concept. I mean,
Standard hanging plant.
yeah, like a fuchsia, an angel wing begonia. Like, I am also
Okay.
not a plant person.
Fair enough. Plant people, let us know.
And then you and I were talking before recording kicked on. This is the first time we get the term Ashendara.
It is. Yeah.
He's had the thing for books. He's known Brigida for half a book, and only now do we finally get the word for his Odin spear.
I was saying all of book 6 and all of book 7 and a good chunk of book 5 and all of book 5. He's got the spear before we just call it Matt's spear. And we've been calling it the Ashendara because it gets called out a lot for the rest of the series.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering why it took Jordan so long to come up with a name for Matt's spear.
Maybe he just didn't like any of the words he was coming up with and was just like, yeah, put it off to another chapter. Put it off to another chapter. And eventually it clicked through because it's such a little half-hearted line inserted there that I bet it was literally he was just waiting for inspiration to strike. Plus he needed Brigida in the scene in order to give him that old tongue word. I suppose Rand could have given it to him, but a plant person has posted a picture in the Discord of a plant with red and green leaves. That looks very tropical and decorative, and like a queen would have it lining her courtyard.
Not sure it's a hanging. Not sure. The leaves aren't dangling from metal baskets.
You
I don't think that's.
Put it in a hanging basket, and they would have to dangle.
No. Okay, fine.
Maybe. I mean, but thank you, professional plant person, for supplying our needs.
So he comes across basically the kin and Elaine hanging out.
Yeah, because this is the caravan assembling. So we've got 6 coaches that are preparing to take the entire party across the river to the Rahad to find the bowl, because now they know where the warehouse is, thanks to Elaine getting the kin to acknowledge her as Aes Sedai.
And Matt having followed them there.
Right. That helps too.
Yeah.
So we've kind of got like the who's who of the party. So Nalesean yawning, Rianne Corley and 7 other people of the knitting circle, Elaine being all fresh-eyed and bushy-tailed.
And the fateful decision to leave the actual Aes Sedai home, the ageless face Aes Sedai, so they don't cause quote-unquote a stir. But that means you don't have anyone to face the Black Aja when they're attacked.
Which is why they only end up with 1 prisoner after being attacked. Yeah.
Right, because then you have to deal with the kin and everything, and yeah.
Yeah, they've only got Elaine and Nynaeve, who have like anything remotely close to Aes Sedai approach to channeling.
It does save all of those Aes Sedai's lives, though. Imagine how many the Golem would have killed.
Yeah. Yeah, the encounter with the Golem is even more unexpected than the encounter with the Black Aja. Like we've talked before about how the Black Aja show up there probably more or less as a coincidence of timing because Moghedien, so on and so forth. The Golem is another level yet of unexpected. Like there's no reason to expect that. So yeah, it was wise to leave the Aes Sedai behind, but not for the reasons that they think. And there's this line about how Tylin makes Matt feel helpless, and he thinks that that's not the right word and it's ridiculous. But like, yeah, she is making you helpless. She's using multiple people to hold you down. She's using your own scarf to tie you up.
She's using social pressure to keep you in the palace and prevent you from leaving. She's using your oaths to the Aes Sedai against you so you can't escape her presence. Yeah. No, he's in a place where he is not in a typical role that he's used to. And the combination of not being in a typical role and B, just being losing his agency, I suppose, is what's really throwing him off here, right? He doesn't have really any choices in the matter, mostly because he's committed to protecting the girls.
Yeah. And like something that I'd never thought of until Gus brought it up in the bread and cheese or whatever, no, the Festival of Birds chapter, is that like Matt doesn't have the vocabulary.
No.
Right. So that's why he's like, this word doesn't feel right. But at the same time, like, it's plenty for us as readers to be like, yes, that makes sense. Like, he's really, really bereft of language to explain what's going on for him. But he knows that he's uncomfy.
And it comes up over and over and over again in this chapter. This chapter is like every other sentence is, and Matt felt weird. Matt didn't like that. Matt was uncomfortable. Matt didn't do that. You know, like, it's just, Jordan's really smashing you over the head with it in this chapter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And we've got this whole comment about how Elaine's notion of what to wear when visiting the roughest part of the city without attracting attention is some really nice clothes.
Yeah.
Really, really rich, nice clothes.
I mean, they're going in a caravan full of wise ones. It's not like they're not going to attract a shit ton of attention.
Yeah, her cleavage is not the biggest problem.
No.
But, you know, let's criticize other people when we don't want to think about how uncomfortable we are. It checks out. And then we've got this whole conversation about Rianne being like, why are the Eyes to Die thinking that all of us kin are liars? And Elaine being like, okay, so this is really awkward to explain, but ages.
Yeah.
Ages matter, and yours don't make sense with the way that the Eyes to Die understand the entire world.
Right. As far as Eyes to Die know, channelers die at 300.
Right. Yeah, the concept that a bunch of, you know, wilders who are not actually wilders could be outliving them by a century or more is just, yeah, you're going to call these women liars to their faces at first. Like, sure, it's not true that they're liars, but you believe it. So
it seems like something that's not possible. It's like no, even the most powerful channeler in the White Tower dies at 300, you know, and that's just not something that, you know, even the Black Aja, because they retake the oaths, still have the same effect. So it's, I don't know that any White Tower, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious no one in the White Tower realizes what the Oath Rod is doing to them.
I think that the way that Oath Rod limits lifespan, they knew that in the Age of Legends, right? That's part of why Semirog runs away. So I think that the prohibition about talking about ages comes from their reluctance to talk about the fact that they have committed themselves to shorter lifespans. I think that's the origin of that custom and why it makes everyone so uncomfortable.
Okay.
It's a little like out of sight, out of mind. If we don't talk about it, then it's not real. And I mean, there's centuries of time in there for, you know, the game of telephone, right? To make that not make sense. But that's my headcanon.
Well, and my headcanon is that they knew what it did during the Age of Legends, but then it was lost for a long time. And only on the founding of the White Tower did they be like, well, what's this? Well, it's an unreal you can swear oaths on. And they, at the time, they'd forgotten that it limited lifespans.
Right. Or they weren't sure like how that worked or for sure. Because, there's centuries there. Only like the youngest Eyes to Die from in the Age of Legends could possibly have made it to being the oldest Eyes to Die by the time that the tower was founded. One or two might have made it through, but like, there's a lot of knowledge that was lost there. Yeah.
My assumption is that like a lot of knowledge was lost and a lot of the use of the ter'angreal was lost during the breaking and during the wandering. And only after they sort of came back together and started to compile their knowledge, there was very few angreal or ter'angreal that they knew. That's why the storeroom is so dangerous to study them, because they've forgotten all of how they worked.
Right, or even how to test them safely, or how to interact with them with parameters to be like, if it's flashing red, is that a bad thing or a good thing? Like, they don't know any of that.
No. Which is, I gotta say, like, from a usability standpoint, man, ter'angreal really needs some work. Like, some standards, some you know, some documentation, maybe a little bit of, you know, some user interface work.
Like a manual. Like, I don't know.
That's in the other ter'angreal.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right,
for sure.
right.
I forget what server I was in, but somewhere yesterday I saw a conversation about how is there no like written notation about how power works or like how weaves work? Like, surely that must have been a thing in the Age of Legends, like user manuals or like wiki hows or something. And like all of that's lost and it's only taught by like monkey see, monkey do.
Right.
Like that's it. Like that's a huge knowledge gap.
You'd think there would be like channeling textbooks from the Age of Legends.
Exactly. Like musical notation. Here's how to weave.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that would be interesting. Like how do you do an online tutorial on how to weave it?
I mean, there's knitting patterns.
Yeah.
You know, there's you know, guitar notation. I mean, there are notations for weird ephemeral art forms. There should be one for the power too. And that would, in theory, that would include how to use Terangreal. But yeah, it all got blanked out like an EMP over Wall Street with the breaking.
I did notice, again, just in Matt's constant harping on Tylin, the bloody woman treated him like a toy. I think that might be the first mention of toy as a name for him. It's even though it's his own mind. I wonder if she's called him a toy at that point.
I mean, she will if she hasn't, for sure. I mean,
like my little toy.
And like we hear in this chapter that, you know, she literally liked tying him up, you know, and she's treating him like a bloody doll. So yeah, with all of her little infantilizing names for him, I definitely imagine that toy has either been spoken or will be spoken very shortly, even now, early on in their encounters.
Well, it's interesting. This is the only time in this book that he is called a toy. The toy doesn't happen until she doesn't start calling him toy until the next, and he's not in the next book, so it's not until Winter's Heart that he starts being called toy.
Does she call him toy, or is it the nickname that all of the staff call him? Tylin's toy. Like once the Shan take over and he becomes known as Tylin's toy, does she ever call him a toy? Toulon calls him a toy, but that's because everyone calls him Tylin's toy. But Tylin wouldn't call him Tylin's toy because that's weird.
Well, no one calls him Tylin's toy in this book.
Yeah.
Except himself, maybe.
Right. But yeah, she's calling him duckling and doll and all of that. So the objectification is well and truly engaged.
And pet names versus objectification, but like, you know, she started calling him by pet names right away. There was no like
their first conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my little duckling. It wasn't like, oh, you're Matt. And as we start this relationship, like we come up with a funny nickname. It was, oh, hi, you little duckling. I'm going to eat you. You know?
Yeah. And so Matt learns that Tom and Julian and Avienda and Brigida are all watching Caridin's palace rather than going with them to the Rahad. And apparently Elaine seems like she has a personal grudge against Caridin, and he can't imagine why that is. We know why that is. It's because she does have a grudge against Caridin at a very personal level for manipulating her mother's disappearance to try to inveigle her into something. Like, she's...
Right. Even though he wasn't lying.
He wasn't lying.
Yeah. And she thinks he's lying about having his mother in the Sun Palace to manipulate her. And it's like, nope, he's telling the truth about that. Yeah. She was actually there. Well, she's not there anymore, but she, as far as he knows, she is.
Yeah. And Elaine's like, oh, you should stay here at the palace. You'd have a great day with Tylin. And he's like, I will literally break out in hives right now. Right now. I will have hysterics and break out into literal hives in front of you in this moment if I actually had to do that.
I'm actually a little curious. How do you think they got Tom and Julian and Brigida to go watch Jacob Caridin's place while they were going on this dangerous mission?
That's a really good question.
Like, I wouldn't think Brigida would leave Elaine alone. I wouldn't think that Tom and Julian would like.
That's a really good question. We're going to go over to the rough, bad part of town. You guys should not come with us. Okay. Like, when the hell has that ever happened?
When has that ever happened? When has Brigida ever been like, oh yeah, sure, no problem?
Maybe it's because they're taking so many of the Red Arms. They're going to the seediest, nastiest part of town. Why are all the bodyguards not even raising a ripple?
It does seem very odd to me.
Because they're going with the kin?
Yeah.
Is it just because they're going with the kin? I mean, I don't see the bodyguards being that trusting of the respect that the kin engender.
Still, I can see it's like we're going to the kin. I mean, you know, even Beslin is like, we'll never get attacked with this many kin. Like, there's no way. This is going to be boring as hell, right? Like, it really does seem to be a routine trip for them, maybe. So,
but Beslin's a local. All the personal bodyguards tend to not trust anybody but themselves at all.
Right. So I find it very weird that Tom and Julian and Avienda and Brigida are off watching Caridin's place. Like, the only thing I'm thinking is she sent them off without telling them that they were going to go get the Bowl of the Winds in the Riyadh.
Yeah, maybe they were like, oh, we want to go, talk more with the kin.
Right.
We're going to go interact more with the kin, and we don't need a bunch of bodyguard people. Like, go help our friends. We're just going to go hang out with the kin, do some knitting, have some tea.
But like, they all know that Matt walked in and was like, I found it, everybody. Like, that's
right. And they're getting the carriages that are going to take them to the Rahad. This is
Right.
not a secret stealth mission.
Yeah. So
It must be that RJ needed them to not get killed by the golem.
that's what I'm thinking. Because it's entirely just like he needs to be able to kill a bunch of people, and he wanted his characters to be safe.
He's like, I don't have that much plot armor.
Right.
If they're in the room, someone has to die. I don't want them to die, so they're going to have to just be in a different room. Yeah, that is a weird one.
So that always, reading that, I'm just like, I don't think he really justified that trip, to my mind. I don't really think he did a good job of saying these characters are over here for these reasons.
Yeah, I agree. That is a very weak chain of reasoning.
And we're so in Matt's head that it's easy to skip over and just be like, oh, well, Matt just doesn't know, or maybe he didn't see the interaction. But I can't imagine anything that would keep Brigida from protecting Elaine.
Yeah, or Tom. I mean, Tom has all kinds of ideas about the rod. Like, he's not going to trust it just because the wise women are there. Maybe, yeah, that RJ just really wanted to wrap these plots up and not have to plot armor too many people away from the golem.
That's my only thought. Because Tom would absolutely be throwing himself at the golem to save Elaine, and he'd be dead.
Yeah, I mean, he survived a Murdral, but he would not survive the golem.
No,
never in a million years. So then we get the whole concept of it's going to take more than a day to leave, which Matt is not jazzed about.
It doesn't really take them that long to leave. They don't need to study it for a week. The Windfinders just know what to do.
Yeah, that entire chain of reasoning falls apart.
Yeah.
But, Elaine is a lot of what's been going on with the bull has been about overblowing the difficulty. I mean, all the way back in Saladar, right? Like, well, we think we're going to need a man to use it. So, Dragon Reborn stuff. And I mean, that ends up being totally untrue. Oh, we're going to need a week to figure out how it works. Totally untrue. Like, that's kind of a theme with the bowl, is overestimating what it can do or how difficult it will be. But yeah, it's like, it's a ter'angreal and you have professional weather workers. Why would this take more than an afternoon?
Right. I do think it's interesting. I know the Bowl of the Winds feels like a singular thing. I think there were hundreds of them, though.
Oh, I agree. I completely agree. There was like a network around the globe of these ter'angreal, and there's 1 or 2 or 3 still left that people actually like have access to and aren't sunk at the bottom of the ocean or whatever.
And that's why I think that when they first looked for the Bowl of the Winds, it sent them to the White Tower, because I bet there's another bowl. I think we were saying there's another Bowl of the Winds in the White Tower.
I absolutely agree. Yeah. I definitely feel like I've gotten pushback on that in Discord chats, but it's definitely, there's one in the tower. There's one in the Rahad. There's got to be another couple handful that just exist around the world. And that's probably part of why the Sea Folk are so good at weaving weather, is because they were trying to imitate what this network was doing. And they grew their skills to ridiculous proportions that the Forsaken can't even credit, because nobody should be able to weave cable thick things. That's only a ter'angreal deal. But it's like, we just set the goalpost out a little farther, and then people push that, and
that's how they were able to take the Bowl of the Winds and combine what should have been a local effect only, but they are able to do the local effects with just their own weaving. So then you combine, basically this exponential growth. We're able to combine the two sort of local effects, and they feed off each other to create this global effect. Yeah. But you're stressing the power, and that's causing all of the weirdness around Abu Dar, is the use of the Bowl of Winds.
I also think that if they had multiple bowls of the winds to use with this, they might have been able to mitigate how intense the swings of the seasons were. Like, they're totally overdriving this one ter'angreal that's supposed to be part of a network into something much, much larger than it's meant to be used for. They're completely overdriving it. And I think that's part of why the weather snaps so hard. If they had the original network around the whole planet, they probably could have course corrected the weather with less of an abrupt swing.
Yeah, I think it was, I can't remember which Forsaken was thinking about it, but he was like, surely they couldn't fix what the Dark One did, but he had heard about these Windfinders and their crazy use of weather control. Maybe with we do have a Forsaken being like, I guess it could be.
I think that's Moradin, because he's the one sitting back looking, being like, there's no, because he's watching them bail through the gateway.
Right.
And he's like, they're not going to be able to change anything. Wait, are they? Could they?
Yeah. Could they?
No. Yeah. No.
Yeah. And then they do. Yeah.
And then they do.
So the Forsaken know about the Bowl of the Winds and what they are. They've just never thought to use them in the way that the Windfinders are using them.
Yeah, it's like, you couldn't take down the entire national power grid with just a laptop. That's ridiculous. Isn't it?
Right. And then a bunch of Russian hackers are like, nope.
Yeah.
Done.
Turns out
You don't need those oil pipelines.
Exactly. Definitely impossible.
You wouldn't download a car if you could do that, would you? You wouldn't pirate a car.
Yeah, I would. All you need is a 3D printer. Yeah. Oh, and then Matt makes the fatal flaw of saying, Rand wants to give you the Lion Throne, Elaine. Elaine's like, I will cut you. Yeah. And she gets a note about that. So Matt's just stepping in it right and left with Elaine in this chapter. Like, I don't know why you're annoyed at Cardan. I don't know why you don't want Rand to give you the throne. Elaine's just like, you ignorant yokel. What am I going to do with you?
And the next thing I have is Lan showing up and Matt being like, wait, you're alive? And you're married to Nynaeve? What the hell? When did that happen?
Yeah, that interaction is so funny because he's like, first of all, Lan's alive. Second of all, Nynaeve is married? Like, those two things, neither of those make sense in his mind. And then the fact that they're married to each other is just, it's his surprise that is funny.
Who wants to marry Nynaeve?
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So, and it's I always see it as like when a teacher gets married. Wait, teachers have lives?
Right.
Like, yeah, like this idea that like Nynaeve as the wisdom is something more than human and therefore can't have like love interests and have human, Matt has always seen Nynaeve as the wisdom and as like sort of an authority voice. Now he hates authority voices, but he still sees her as that sort of like authority figure in his life.
Right. And I mean, all of Emmons Field treated her like that. Like, the wisdom can't dance. Like, that would be unbecoming. Like, she definitely cannot be a moon-eyed girl for a man. That would be ridiculous.
And Nynaeve, more than any of the wisdom, because she's so young and because she looks even younger, couldn't risk any of that.
Yeah. Plus, she probably wouldn't have liked anybody in the Two Rivers. Like, let's be real. Like, I don't think anyone was up to her standard.
I have to wonder, maybe Rand as he got older.
Maybe. I mean, there was the whole Egwene thing, so I could see there being a type going on.
Exactly.
There.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe like someone like Tam. I mean, the age difference is massive, but like he's unmarried and he's stable, so.
Yeah, no, I do like a Tam in that situation. Yeah.
And Tam and Lan are about the same age, so that does work canonically with Nynaeve's tastes.
I thought Tam was a decade or two older than Lan, because Lan's in is like young 40s.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And Tam is like old 50s in my you're right, because Nynaeve remembers Tam coming back with the wife and child, and she's a kid at that point, so okay, a bit older, but still, I mean, I could see it because he is a very eligible bachelor who is a perfect gentleman. So right, because Tam left the Two Rivers at like 20,
right,
spent 10 years in the Companions, found Cary Thor, he must have been at least 30 at that point, brought Rand back another 20 years, minimum 50, minimum.
Yeah, no, you're right. We've also got Beslan being added to the party, to Matt's disgruntlement. And Nalesean apparently didn't get much sleep last night. Wonder why he didn't get much sleep last night.
Why didn't he? Was there some ladies that he was interested in?
According to Matt's sarcastic inner monologue, that's the strong implication. We don't know, but Nalesean had not got much sleep. Ha! The whole lot of them have been out enjoying themselves at the festival. And Nalesean's like, I didn't get much sleep, and now you're dragging me off when there's sea folk women around. And so I imagine Nalesean is living it up and has a bit of a hangover today, in addition to not having slept much.
Right.
Beslan seems to be well rested, but, that guy is just the Energizer Bunny of partying.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, he absolutely can just go and go and go and go and drink. And I hate assholes like that who like They drink you into the table and they're up early the next morning, chipper, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And like Nalesean has already been established as that guy. So the fact that he's
Yeah.
tired and Bestlin is still going is like,
Right.
mm.
Beslin's a party prince.
Yeah.
I mean, dude's rich, no responsibilities, parties all the time. He's got a retinue of fuckboys that hang around with him all the time. Like, you know, his most challenging is getting in a mortal duel and having to kill a man and accidentally marry his wife.
Yeah.
And take care of her, you know,
Yeah.
like that's his biggest challenge. So, yeah, I like Beslin's arc from irresponsible fuckboy to king of
The Shanshan capital on this side of the ocean.
Yeah.
Basically.
I'm trying to think like a vassal of the Shanshan, but still powerful and ruling of this area and in control of the Shanshan capital.
And starting as a serious rebel to them and like seriously trying to have a rebellion and then like twisting around and being like, you know what? I'm actually going to be a vassal state instead. Like, yeah, it's like he was always a responsible man inside, just waiting for his opportunity, which is you don't expect that from fuckboys. That's not like expected. So it's cool that he does that, even though he does, you know, bend the knee to the Shanshan, which is like, ugh. But you can't fault his reasoning given everything that's happened at that point in the story. And so there's an interesting thing with the whole Matt Tylin thing. I know we're beating on that a lot this chapter, but so does Matt.
That's what this chapter. I mean, this chapter is Matt every third sentence he comes back to thinking about Tylin. Like Tylin's name is in this chapter over and over and over again, even though she's not in it. That's all he's thinking about.
So there's this thing where Elaine says that Tylin has called Matt wonderfully entertaining and courteously compliant. And then down the page, there's not that he hadn't enjoyed himself in patches, but only when he could forget he was with a woman who thought he was some sort of bloody doll. Like, that's a very complicated thing that, like, apparently Tylin is having, I don't even know, like, how to say it. It's just weird. I can see why the fandom has a hard time, like, knowing what's going on there, because that is a confusing set of things to have said, given that he wants to cry and hide under his hat and break out in hives, you know?
Doesn't mean he wasn't aroused.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it's sort of like the confusion of like, is arousal consent? No, it's not. But this is presenting us with the fact that that can be confusing.
And Matt himself is confused about that. He's like, I was aroused, so that means I must have been into it, but I'm not into it. What's going on? I don't understand. So his confusion is around that as well. It's his like, I enjoyed it in some places, I guess. Like it didn't feel bad.
And he's being compliant in the sense that like he's going along with it, right? He's not like kicking and screaming and fighting to get away in the ways that like one might think. He's going along with it, but that doesn't mean he's consenting. Right. But it does mean that he's a fighter, right? Like he is consenting, but he's not. It's the confusion is so intense there. You can almost understand why Tylin would think she's fine. She's not fine. She's obviously, I mean, she needs 6 women to drag him into her apartments. That's not cool. But courteously compliant is definitely a mixed message for everyone to be internalizing.
Yeah.
Also, it's a bit of a euphemism because she's talking to Elaine in that conversation. But he's servicing me so well. Thank you for bringing me this courtesan. He's not a courtesan.
Yeah. No, I don't know what I keep saying. Yeah. Because like it sucks. I don't know what to say after that. Like,
yeah,
she's not treating him well, and it gives me like I kind of have this permanent like twist to my mouth in this chapter. Like every time I read something, I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
And because it is such them standing around talking and Matt just thinking, like this is all in his head. This is all about the reactions to the events of last night.
Yeah.
And like, I want to move past it so badly.
Okay, Nynaeve's clothes. Let's talk about Nynaeve's clothes. She's dressed in blue and green because Lan. She's in a blue silk with green embroidery, blue plumes on her hat, a green cloak embroidered in blue. It's just
extremely low cut to show off the rings.
Yeah, very low cut. And just clinging to Lan and just batting her eyelashes and just doing the like that's Nynaeve for the next several chapters. which is great.
Ariel was talking about that, how she was like wanted to draw Nynaeve with the cleavage and they wouldn't let her. And she's like, but that's what she's showing off with Lan. Like, that's, yeah. She's looking, she's not wearing Two Rivers woolen. Her journey to the other side. Shaved Knees has made a good point. She's happy. Like, Nynaeve hasn't been happy before. She's been upset. She's been angry. She's
furious,
been
livid,
furious.
incensed.
Yeah. Right. Okay, thesaurus for angry. But yeah, so now she's actually like reunited with Lan. She's got to be married. She's happy. She's mastered her power, which is like the block is gone, which is a huge source of anxiety for her that's gone. Like, her life went from blocked and single to married and powerful in one day.
Yeah, I mean, best fucking day of her life at this point. This is waking up the next morning and it wasn't all a dream. She is giddy in a way that she's probably never experienced in her entire life. And that's amazing.
And safe in a way, like she doesn't have to keep herself on the edge of being angry all the time anymore to be safe. Now she can actually feel her feelings as opposed to just randomly constantly working herself up in case she has to face a Forsaken or perform some trick or, you know, do any sort of training or research on in the power.
Yeah.
Like all of that involved working herself up and getting super angry before she could do any of it. And now it's just like, oh yeah, I can chill. Nice.
Yeah, it's going to take her a while to get used to not having to being angry all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like what a relief to not have to be at the edge all the time. And she's got a bodyguard that she doesn't, you know, basically hate his guts. So that also helps with a little bit of physical security.
And, you know, I think she has been convinced by the assault in the Riyadh that maybe a warder might not be a terrible thing to have. Right? Like, remember that whole like, yeah, Matt, maybe you should. That sounds like a good idea to send some soldiers along with us.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, you just took a rock to the head, right? Like, they've been convinced that warders are a good thing.
But she doesn't have to feel like she's, you know, compromising her authority to accept Lan's protection, right? Like, that part is different. She's not having to go begging to this person she has a grudge against. She can just let her husband protect her, which is, you know, if you can't let him protect you, then like who can, right?
Well, it in traditional Wheel of Time, it is still a bit of a bargain and a trade-off. That while she gets to say what he does in public, he gets to say what they do in private.
She's into it.
Which she's totally into.
She's so okay with that.
It's one of the like most interesting parts of the relationship. And we get this line from Lan. Nynaeve and I were married last night by the mistress of the ships, he said finally. The Alpha Anmier have several unusual marriage customs. There were surprises for both of us. A small smile touched his mouth, if nothing else. He shrugged slightly. Seemingly, that was all the answer he intended to give.
There's so much that's unspoken in that.
So much. Especially since, like, we know Lan's history of, like, he's not sexually
ignorant.
Like, he's, you know, the whole New Spring is he was being manipulated by the woman who took his virginity, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole thing about that.
And there's that line later on about how women have been throwing themselves at him for like his entire adulthood.
Yeah. And he's dandled with some of them sometimes, but they never capture his heart.
Yeah.
The other way is true. Yeah. And it's like Lan fucks.
Yes. Lan fucks. And he takes it very seriously, as he does literally everything.
Right. And so the unusual marriage customs, I have to wonder if they were being watched or...
I feel like I read this conversation months ago in a server. Like, they have to have, like someone proposed that it was, a public consummation in the Anmier. And it's like, I mean, ships aren't that big or that soundproof. So that would be a logical custom. I can see
You may now fuck the bride.
Yeah. And we're all going to, you know, like do the idea, like beating on your spears and bucklers, like outside the window. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I could totally see it.
Totally see that.
We don't get any more detail than that there were surprises, but like we can headcanon whatever we want.
Oh, trust me, I do.
Yeah. It's spicy.
It's very spicy. This is when it's like, this is a relationship that feels real for a couple of reasons. One is that like, they like to get it on. You know, and like, it bugs me when people are like, oh, we're in a relationship, but we never touch. I'm like, Yeah, that's not realistic.
I mean, it does happen. There are such thing as ace people in the world, but to put that into a novel that is playing to like a romance part of a genre doesn't really feel realistic.
No. These are clearly romantic relationships, not aromantic relationships.
Yeah, it's this is not that bullshit is not ace representation. That is like purity culture nonsense. It's annoying, but it's nice that we get a couple of hints that Lan and Nynaeve are having a very robust sexual relationship. I mean, there's the line in the next chapter when they all get out of the carriages where Elaine's like, well, Nynaeve, if last night was as wonderful as you say it was,
Right.
well, let's stop talking.
Whoops,
And it's tell me more, Elaine.
Exactly.
Spill the beans. What
exactly made it so wonderful? Yeah.
Though in fairness, Nynaeve is a virgin, so probably her bar for wonderful, has yet to be moved into high extreme reaches. It is being moved into high extreme reaches, but I don't think she was that hard to impress at this point.
Dude, I'll tell you what, sometimes virgins can be tough to impress. They expect, because their expectations are way up here, they have that. Virgins are like, fair. Oh yeah, I've never had real sex, so it must be amazing. I have no idea what the actual like problems around sex are that cause.
That's true. All the awkward limb positions and weird noises.
Ouch, my hair.
But Lan would have been a extremely consummate initiator of that situation.
I'm glad we can all agree on that.
Yeah, nobody is debating that at all. I like also that it makes him smile, that there were surprises for both of them.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, Lan, you will get through this depression pit. Just look at the smile. You see that smile?
A small smile touches lips. That's like Lan like laughing out loud and dancing in the rain for anybody else. Like that little bit of emotion for him is far and beyond what we usually see out of him.
Yeah.
And then of course Nalesean's reaction. Well, good luck.
Yeah, he's like, blessings on your marriage.
I know, Nynaeve. You're a braver man than I.
Right. Yeah, totally. And Lan's like, this is correct.
Yeah, he's like, yes, I am.
Yeah.
I'm braver and stronger than you will ever be, no matter who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why Nynaeve and Lan work so well. They're both extra, right? Yeah. Like, they're both so much.
Yeah, they both go to 11 easily.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. God, can you imagine them as king and queen of something? Like, I almost wouldn't want to be part of that kingdom because it's just like the expectations would be so high.
Well, the good thing is that they're going to be digging their kingdom out from the recently retreated blight. So only the hardiest of, like pioneer frontiersman type people are going to want to be in that kingdom at the beginning. So it'll be a nation of extra people.
I wonder about that. Doesn't the blight like retreat pretty quickly?
Yeah. But they still have to like rebuild and they're going to be on edge about if the blight's going to come popping back for at least the first couple of decades.
I was going to say it's almost a paradise of untouched wilderness once the blight retreats.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be quite idyllic as far as frontiers go. And then Lan braves Nynaeve's anger by telling Matt that some of his red arms died because Nynaeve was going to just sweep that under the rug, I guess.
I'm so angry at Nynaeve for this. This is honestly one of the things that pisses me off the most about how she treats Matt, is not telling him his men are dead. That Lan says, Nynaeve doesn't want you to know, but you need to hear it. Your 2 men are dead, killed by. It's like, was she not going to tell him that the bodyguards he gave her were killed? Like,
yeah,
what the fuck, Nynaeve? Like, that is seriously, especially since like we talked about how she had that reaction of being like, oh my God, did anybody else survive? And Lan was like, no. And like, she had that moment. And then to hide it from Matt, it feels, and he's even wondering like, where are my men? Did you keep them overnight? Where are the 2 of them? Mm-hmm. He has that thought before Lan tells him.
Latwin and Belvin, they had names and backstories. Yeah, it feels very out of character. I mean, she's a healer. Like, she should take responsibility for death.
Yeah.
Like,
not necessarily responsibility, but be like, yeah, I was attacked and they died in the attack, right? Like,
yeah.
But I think what she doesn't want to tell Matt is that Moghedien's around, not necessarily that his men are dead.
Right. Yeah. And to hide one detail, you have to hide all the details. And she doesn't tend to think these sorts of subterfuges through very many days into the future. So it's like, just avoid telling him this afternoon and we'll deal with tomorrow when we get there. Yeah, it's infuriating, and it's not quite out of character, but I want it to be out of character for her.
Yeah.
I really wish that this was out of character for her.
It's one of the things that really that I like the least about Nynaeve right here is this line that Lan had to be the one to tell Matt that the people he sent with Nynaeve to protect her were dead. I've always been, this is definitely a moment where I'm like, what the fuck, Nynaeve? What the fuck?
Yeah, this is very immature.
Yeah, and the only excuse I can give is that she's doing a lot of other things and that she just has a lot on her mind and didn't have a chance to tell Matt. The problem is Lan says Nynaeve doesn't want you to know. That is what I have a problem with.
Yeah.
Is if he just said Nynaeve hasn't had a chance to tell you, or Nynaeve is too scared to tell you, or Nynaeve
she doesn't know how to bring this up.
Yeah.
But instead she doesn't want to tell you.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense because you have to explain where those men went at some point. Like, what, they just ran off? Like, no. No one's going to believe that.
I also feel like it's out of character for Lan to tell him if Nynaeve didn't want him to tell.
Lan is being Nynaeve's better half in that.
Yeah.
And being like, no, that's strategically and ethically improper.
But I think he would have argued with her about it more than he would have just gone around her and told Matt.
Well, and maybe that points to the fact that this is a timing thing. And there just hasn't been time, and Lan thinks that time is of the essence on getting that information over.
They did just walk in for the first time since that happened, right? This is literally the first encounter that Nynaeve has had with Matt since those soldiers died.
Yeah, so we could chalk it up to that because, you're right. Lan would be much more inclined to convince Nynaeve that she needs to be an adult about this. But things are just moving really fast, and they're about to go into a dangerous situation. You should know that Moghedien could show up this afternoon.
Right.
And you're not going to have time to learn that from Nynaeve while she works up her nerve to tell you, and I haven't convinced her. So, but it's a rough personalization.
The only other interpretation, and Super Skylake is putting it out here, is maybe they argued about it, and she's like, well, I don't want him to know. He's like, well, I'm telling him. And she's like, fine.
But she doesn't, because then when Matt learns about it, Nynaeve looks at Lan and is like, you told him! Right. So... Yeah, we can just chalk it up to there's a lot going on and not a lot of time, and just be upset.
And maybe she was just trying to save that until after they got the Bowl of the Winds, when he wouldn't restrict her movement or anything. Yeah,
maybe they were afraid that he would try to pull the plug on the whole Bowl of the Winds retrieval mission, and they're like, it's too important. You can't stop us, and time is of the essence. We'll tell you. I mean, the men are dead. You can't change that they're dead at this point. So what's a day, more or less?
Yeah, not unless you got a lot more balefire.
Yeah, a lot more balefire.
Yeah.
And then Beslin knows that there's Moghedien in the mix, and he thinks that sounds like fun, apparently. Which is just kind of like, most of the regular peons and muggles of the world do not really know that the Forsaken are free, and now Beslin just casually is like, oh yeah, some Moghedien. Oh, cool.
Well, again, this is where he's sort of a casual fuckboy. Like, he doesn't take things seriously because he doesn't understand the consequences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
He's the 18-year-old speeding in his car, and then wrecking it because, it's like he's too young to really, what is that? Your forebrain doesn't fully develop until you're 25, right? Like, he's too young to understand the consequences of going to face Moghedien or getting in daily duels to the death on a regular basis.
Right. Yeah, and especially since meeting Matt, because Matt's whole luck thing, and the band has all the attitude about Matt's luck. And so, Beslin is definitely young and immortal and invincible in his own mind.
Mm-hmm. Those bloody flaming women, Matt muttered. I hope you don't include my wife, Lance said coldly, one hand gripping the hilt of his sword. And Matt quickly raised his hand. Of course not. It's like, of course Nynaeve's included in that. What do you think?
But Lance is like, I will fucking cut you.
Yeah. Well, Lan's reaction is so obviously just like, don't say that shit about my wife while I'm standing right here.
Yeah.
I know you're talking about her.
Mm-hmm.
He's no dummy. He knows Matt includes Nynaeve in that.
Yeah.
Or might specifically be about Nynaeve in particular.
Yeah. It's a warning shot across the bow.
Yeah.
This is your one get out of jail free card. Say the right things and I will not literally relieve you of your head. And the note?
Yeah.
Picnic basket, note, it's skeevy.
As sure as bread was brown. It's an interesting little. So that's higher up. Sure as was brown, she would have hidden the fact that one of the Forsaken might be in the city. Bread's not always brown.
I mean, the crust usually is.
I guess.
I guess.
Maybe we're just used to bleached flour.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
I don't think that they've worked out taking the nutrition out of your bread for no good fucking reason in the Wheel of Time world yet.
No Wonder Bread in Wheel of Time? What a disappointment.
Yeah, we've been having homemade bread for the past several weeks, and every time we eat it, it's just like, why store bread? Why do you exist? This is so dumb. Homemade bread is so much better.
It's so much better. Are you just using standard yeast, or are you in the sourdough?
We have not gotten into sourdough yet. That will come, but yeah, for now it's just been regular yeast, but it's so much crustier and more flavorful. And dough conditioners. Don't like dough conditioners. Yeah.
Do you want to read the note?
Okay, this is the note. It's on this basket with a striped cloth, and it's disgusting. Matt, my sweet, I am having your things moved to my apartments. So much more convenient. By the time you return, Roselle will be in your old rooms to look after young Oliver. He seems to enjoy her company.
Oops.
I have seamstresses coming to measure you. I will enjoy watching that. You must wear shorter coats. And new breeches, of course. You have a delightful bottom. Duckling, who is this daughter of the 9 moons I made you think of? I have thought of several delicious ways to make you tell me. Tylin.
Yeah. The only real thing I have to say there is, whenever he thinks a woman is roped him in or is attractive, he does ask her if she's the daughter of the 9 moons, because he thinks this could be his wife.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, Queen of Altara marrying you seems like a pretty big stretch.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like in a lot of ways it's his way of, he's checking her off. He's like, all right, is this going to be my future wife and someone I have to deal with, or is this just a fling?
Yeah, it does seem like anytime he feels like he's getting close to a woman, he's trying to decide, like, do I lean in or do I run away?
Yeah.
And that's what that question is about. And yes, in chat, it's the Queen of Altara marrying him is less of a stretch than the future Empress of Shanshan. In fairness, going for probability, yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, he doesn't know.
He's just climbing the social ladder.
Yeah, from random Shido girls to local queens to Empress heirs.
He's just fucking his way up the ladder. I mean, you talk
just
about
sleeping his way to the top.
Sleeping his way to the top. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a great note, but it does help us set up for, like, this is the way things are going to be until this I hesitate to call it a relationship, but until this relationship ends, this is the tone of what's going to happen. And we see Matt in short coats being admired by multiple people or mocked by multiple people throughout. So this is just giving you a little taste of the discomfort Matt's going to be in for the next couple of books.
Yeah. Well, and the clothes are really designed to show off his assets.
Yep.
Whether he wants to or not.
Yeah.
I'll read this out. Mogedion and Tylin. Of the two, he would rather confront Mogedion. He touched the fox head hanging in the open neck of his shirt. At least he had some protection against Mogedion. Against Tylin, he had no more than he did against the daughter of the bloody 9 moons, whoever she was. Unless he could find some way to make Nynaeve and Elaine leave Abu Dar before tonight, everybody was going to know. Solemnly, he tugged his hat lower. These flaming women really were making him act like a girl. In another minute, he was afraid. He just might start crying.
He is boxed in.
Yeah.
Mythical, evil person with near god powers, or your assaulter.
Would literally rather deal with the boogeyman than this woman.
Yeah, it's almost like she's a bad person doing bad things.
And his I have no defense against her. That's also pretty rough.
Yeah, he's used to having some kind of defense. He's even got magic defense, but like he has no allies. Like that's the thing that keeps getting me with his situation is everybody is an accomplice rather than an ally. An accomplice for his oppressor rather than an ally for him. It's nobody believes him. Everyone thinks it's funny or they're actively helping the assault happen. Like he can't go to anyone. I mean, he could go to people that he won't go to because it would be too embarrassing and too uncomfortable. And that's real world relatable as fuck.
But yeah, I mean, that it's just that whole chapter is absolutely like, again, the more I look into this book, this is the book of bad touch and non-consent. Whether it happens or whether people think it happens, like, and that chapter is all about Matt's head afterwards. That's the whole chapter.
He's confused. He's miserable.
Yeah.
He's totally fucked up.
And he's about to cry.
Yeah. He doesn't want anyone to look at him, and he wants to hide and cry.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the mental state of a happy person or even
No.
a confused person. That is a
No.
distinctly unhappy person.
No. Yeah, and it's tough to argue on the other side. I mean, you see the trauma in his head,
Yeah.
and it's not confusion. It's not, why is she pursuing me? I should be pursuing her. It's, this sucks. I want out.
Yeah.
So that chapter makes me sad.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to 6 Stories, though. 6 Stories is a great chapter. That's the one we're doing tomorrow. That's fantastic. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah. 6 Stories is fun, even though it is when Nalesean dies,
Yeah,
which makes me very, very sad.
But it's an action-y chapter. It's one we've been building up to. We get all the wins. It's so much satisfaction. It's so much
The
action.
golem.
It's there's twists on twists. You get the Black Oddjaw and then Golem. Yeah,
Yeah, the golem's in there. I mean, I don't know where the chapter breaks are.
it's a long chapter.
Because it's the procession. They go into the Rahad and out again in that chapter. So that is a very exciting chapter, and we have Colin for that. If I'm remembering Next Life recording correctly. Ooh.
Yeah, Randland TV podcast.
That's going to be a long recording.
That's going to be a really long recording.
Yeah, get well rested for that one.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a fat chapter, and then we're going to have 3 people. So.
Yep.
I hate shopping for anything and everything.
Yeah. Like, anything and everything all of the time.
I wasn't going to say it. But yes. It's
Welcome to the internet.
Definitely the most catchy song from the special in my mind. They're all earworms, but that one all of the time.
Mm-hmm. The hand sock is always disturbing.
Especially at the end.
When he pulls the hand sock off his hand.
Yeah.
It's like, please God, no!
Yeah. That's how the world works.
Say it.
Yeah, no. Yeah. The level of the amount of layers in that sketch is oof.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
Bo Burnham's inside, by the way, if you don't know what we're talking about.
In case you're living under a rock and you haven't exposed yourself to Bo Burnham's special. Definitely you should do that if you need some really hilarious reasons to be depressed.
Yeah.
And cathartic laughing.
Super Sky was saying that trying clothes on was a good reason to go to brick and mortar stores in person, but I've gotten lucky that I am just a standard man size and I can pretty much just order pants and I can measure my fancy shirts by neck size and shoulder size. I can measure my pants by waist and length. It pretty much always fits.
Oh, yeah, that you are lucky. The warder and I are both unusually proportioned for our sizes. Like my arms are extra short, his legs are extra long. It's just like I need to make more clothes because that's literally less stressful than shopping.
Wow.
I hate shopping. I hate it. I even got Stitch Fix for a while and it was just like, this is still too stressful.
My biggest issue with clothes is just shoulder to length. So sometimes getting something that fits me in the shoulders is just way too long or too bulky. Looks like I'm swimming in it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm like petite in terms of my skeleton, but not in terms of my curves.
Gotcha.
So most of what fits me is meant for a different age bracket than I'm in or that my aesthetic is in. And yeah, it's not so bad with pants. If I get pants that fit my ass, their legs are too long, but it's easy enough to just edit them.
Yeah.
That's not a big deal. But yeah, I have really short arms and narrow shoulders. It's awkward. But, I just wear my clothes out until they're literally falling apart. And then hopefully someday I'll be sewing again. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't.
Hobbies.
Yeah, clothes are annoying. Or you just get a bunch of t-shirts because t-shirts fit everybody.
Right. I mean, it is my work uniform is jeans and a black t-shirt. So
Yeah, that makes
and then
easier.
I just wear that everywhere because it really just becomes my default. I have a drawer full of black t-shirts and a couple of pairs of jeans, and I put that on in the morning, and I literally don't think about it most days, unless I put on a Wheel of Time t-shirt. That's pretty much my only other. But my clothes do get dirty working in the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, having minimal style helps a lot with clothing shopping if you don't really care what you look like.
Yeah. Well, I do. I just have a uniform. It's like I think I look good in it. Like I didn't pick it out because I think it looked terrible in it. Like, but the effort to match and style and it's the t-shirt, the black t-shirt and jeans is the shaved head of the clothing world. Right, like it's
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna mess with it. It's the simplest possible thing it can be, and it looks fine, and it doesn't need to be any more complicated than that.
Yeah, I just have worn the same clothes for years because like I've ceased changing size. So
Same, yeah. No.
Between that and my strong feelings about clothing manufacturing from growing the fibers on up through applying the decals, it's like I just won't buy clothes, and just all my pictures will look the same across the years because I never change my wardrobe, and it's fine. But yeah, black t-shirts are definitely pretty dope, and just themed t-shirts in general are fun.
I think the only issue is sometimes they get bleach on them, and then they become black t-shirts that look like they have little stars on them or red stains or something like that. So this one's clean, but it's great. We use bleach to clean the kitchen at work, so it's very easy to get some bleach on me. It's usually diluted, but still, it's amazing that like a spot of diluted bleach, if you don't get it off right away, it'll very quickly, you wash your shirt and it comes out with bleach spots.
Yeah, bleach is it's powerful. Even in its diluted form, it is powerful stuff.
Yeah, and we want it, not diluted enough to kill the bacteria, so it's not like it's, that's sort of the point.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be sanitary.
Yeah, you're supposed to be destroying whatever it comes in contact with.
Yeah. I'm using it to clean surfaces that have touched raw chicken and raw meat and stuff like that. So
raw chicken and raw meat. They're both meat.
Red meat.
Yeah.
Raw chicken and raw red meat.
I mean, I have no root to stand on. I grew up as a vegetarian who was allowed to eat fish. So,
That's called a pescatarian.
Yeah, ovo-lacto-pescatarian, actually.
Gosh. I can't believe you didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Sorry for the long run up, folks. I'm a little out of it this morning. I had a bit of a headache and took a nap and woke up shortly before the episode, so I'm sort of just slapping myself awake.
Trying to like on-ramp you into
exactly.
normal brain function.
Yeah, I'm like, ooh, it's
gear
a
up,
slow.
gear up.
Come on.
But it's giving people time to file in. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or
support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?